Hey guys, so I'm making a quick video to show you what to do for the podcast. This is a huge assignment in our class, probably the biggest assignment that we've done. If you don't do this assignment, there is no chance you will pass with anything less than a B minus. So you really need to get this project in, okay? And it's really easy. It should be actually kind of fun, okay? So at this point, because you're a bit behind, don't try to be too creative with this. Just either read a chapter from a book, or if you have a little kid book, just read the little kid book to me, a Dr. Seuss book, something short like that. You could have an interview with somebody in your house. Say your older brother is in high school and you want to ask him, how's it going? Because it's a different schedule and everything. That's great. Do that. Just have a short 5-minute interview with that person. It doesn't have to be long. Matter of fact, I don't want it to be long. I want you to go through the process and try to record yourself and create something. Okay? That doesn't really matter. I don't mind if you talk about your favorite song, talk about your um, least favorite influencer right now. You can do whatever you want as long as it's school appropriate. I could show it to your parents and they wouldn't be embarrassed that you said something, and I could show it to Mr. Winkelstein and he wouldn't be embarrassed that you said something. So as long as it follows the parameters of what school appropriateness is, it's fine. Okay, so that it doesn't have to be long. This is what you need to do. Open up a tab. Okay, you're going to go to Soundtrap. I already typed that in. All right. And then from here, you're going to go to this one. It says Make Music Online. Now, for me, it's going to automatically log in because I've been on it a bunch of times. If you have not been on it, yikes, first of all. But secondly, just go to where it says Log In on the right-hand side. And then you're going to use your Google. It'll give you a box with 2 columns. And one is use Google to log in. So Google, and you'll use your school account. Okay. Once you have that done, you're going to enter the studio. Okay. You're going to click there. It's going to do this. And your podcast needs to have a couple of things. Okay. So first thing you're going to do is go to podcast. If you follow along with me right now, this will be exactly what you need to do. Like I'm going to show you everything. So the first thing you want to do is you want to add a new track using, well, we're going to use our loops. Okay. You could go here or you could go here. And we're just doing this so we could find an introduction music. Okay. So all good podcasts have some kind of music in the front, and it can be as simple as just a drum beat. So if we type in beats, we scroll down and try to find a beat that fits. You want the ones that say full. Okay, you want to go through and find something that fits what you're trying to do. So I don't know. We're just doing this quickly, so I'll use this one. All right, I'm going to drag that over. I clicked on it. I'm dragging it over. And I'm just going to drop it. Okay. All right, now I'm going to stop it. I'm just going to move it over. Okay, and I'm going to leave that there. All right, so I don't need this. Now I'm going to record myself introducing the podcast. So I want to add a new track right here. Voice and microphone. I'm going to test my microphone. Check 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. This is my normal speaking volume. There we go. So now I'm going to record this. I'm going to click this little R. And I'm going to do what's called soloing out the track. We're going to do this so that the sound from here doesn't go into my track. So I'm going to click on that. Okay, so R, that one. This is highlighted. Wherever this purple line is, this is called the playhead. That's where it's going to record. So now I'm going to hit start recording. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Mrs. Lopes, and today we're going to talk about how to make a podcast. Okay, so that's an introduction. That right there is 10 points. You've just gotten 10 points out of this project. Okay, so now we can listen to a little more of this music perhaps and see if this works together. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Mrs. Lopes, and today we're going to talk about how to make a podcast. All right, so if I want to be fancy with this, one thing I could do is click on this button here, which is called automation, and then go to volume. And it's just like having somebody literally turn the volume down so you could hear my speech better. So I'm going to create this little I'm going to click on the line, create these little dots. That's called an anchor point. And this one, I'm going to move the volume down. And then at the end of my speech, I'm going to move the volume back up. And then at the end, I'm going to fade that out to nothing. Okay, so now it'll sound a little bit clearer. Comes down.
Welcome to the podcast.
My name is, you can hear what I'm saying, but the music's still underneath.
How to make podcast.
It comes back up, and then it'll fade out. And at the fade out, I would start having my actual conversation. So I'm going to go here and just record myself. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to activate this track by clicking on it. Okay. I'm going to click start recording. By the way, if this button is ever buried because you did this and it looks more like this right here is the record button as well. Make sure your track is activated by clicking on it next to where it says mic. Make sure the red R is activated. That tells you that this track is ready to be recorded into. And then you press this, and wherever the purple line is, that's where it will record. So if I have it here, it'll accidentally record over my stuff here, and I don't want that. So I want to make sure that it's over here, okay? One other thing, the undo button is your best friend. Undo often. If you find that you have a mistake, just quickly go to the undo. It's often saved me from having to redo an entire project. So it's one of the best features on this. Okay, so if you can catch your mistakes quick, they're easy to fix. All right, so now I'm just going to talk. At this point, if I was interviewing someone, I would make sure that they're both close to me and that we're, ready to have our conversation. Again, don't break your bubbles. I'm not suggesting you go out and find your best friend who lives in another house and you haven't been bubbling with throughout quarantine. I'm not suggesting you do anything crazy like that. I'm talking about if you're interviewing someone in your household or somebody that you have been, in a bubble with during this quarantine. Okay. So here we go. So this is what you would do. You would just press record. And I'm just going to continue to talk about what you need to do for this project, okay? So this right alone, just having this introduction, that gives you quite a bit of points right there. This part now that I'm recording, this is called the body of the podcast. And this is where, if I was reading a book, I would read my book. If I was interviewing someone, I would introduce them and, we would have our conversation. If I was giving my opinion on a movie or whatever, this is where all that content would go. Okay. Try to keep this pretty short. My requirements for this project were between 3 and 15 minutes. And really 15 minutes should be if it's a great conversation with someone, or if it's more than one person doing it. For a solo project, if you're just trying to get this done so you get this grade, just make it a 3-minute, 4-minute podcast. Okay. Don't stress about it. Tell me about one movie you love. That's fine. Tell me about your favorite album. That's fine. Okay. So now at this point, let's say that I'm done talking about my podcast. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe. So I'm going to press my stop button there. Okay. Let's say that I wanted to cut one part of it out. I listened back to it, and you should listen even though it's uncomfortable. I get that. Believe me, I hate listening to my own voice.
I'm going to continue to talk about what you need to do for this project, okay? So this right alone, just having this introduction, that gives you quite a bit of points right there. This part now that I'm recording.
So let's say I didn't want to add that beginning part. I would just go to this. I would move it over.
You quite a bit of points right there.
And see how there's that little bit of space right there? I'm going to cut in between. So my playhead is here. I'm going to go to edit. Oops, I got to click on the region itself. See how it changed color? You have to actually activate the individual sound regions. I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to split region. And now this cut it in half. So I can actually get rid of that stuff at the beginning. And I can move this over. And now that's the beginning of my podcast, okay? And it also happens to be, the whole body and the end. I even said thank you and, wrapped up my podcast. So that's good. So that's how you cut, okay? So if you had to cut anything out, if you, had a bit of silence or you, stammered over your words or something like that, that's how you would cut it out. It's just by listening, finding the place, move the playhead to where you want to cut, activate the region, edit, split region, that cuts it. Okay. I don't want this split, so I'm going to go to my handy undo button, and now I'm good. Okay. So I've done my introduction. I introduced myself. I had a musical intro. I've done my speech. Okay. The body of the text, the conversation or reading the book, whatever you're doing. Now I need to add some effects to it. So I was talking about Foley effects. These are called Foley effects. I was talking about podcasting. There's not a whole lot in here for that. But let's say, I had something. Let's go to sounds. There's not much for news. Let's say I did a basketball podcast, right? I would search the word basketball, and then I would get all these different sounds. Okay, such as somebody dribbling a ball. All right, kids outside. If I was doing a basketball podcast, I could take one of these sound effects, grab it, just drop it under. Okay. Then it's going to load it in. Now, if I'm talking the whole time, I could just leave that in. Okay. If I was talking about, the Knicks or whatever, and I wanted that sound effect in there, I could just leave it in the whole time, kind of quiet. Again, I could do the automation, or I could just turn my vocal track up. I could make the volume on this go up. Okay. So you just have to listen to it and see which one makes more sense for you. That's one Foley effect. I had put in there that I wanted you to get at least 3 Foley effects. For now, because you're a little bit behind, try to get the 3. But even if you get 1, I'll give you most of the credit on that. Okay. But try to get 3 effects. So if you're talking about fashion, maybe you have like camera sounds, and that's, there's definitely like camera, like a fashion. Here we go. Shutters, camera shutter. Okay, so you could have sounds like that. If you were talking about, I don't know, cars, for some reason you wanted to do a thing about cars, you've got Formula One racing cars. Just think about the sounds associated with what you're talking about, okay? And then just drop a few of them in. And, if you need to trim them up, if it's too long, you could do this, and that makes it shorter. And if it was not long enough, you could do this, and that'll loop it. Okay, so the top is the loop, and it makes a little curly, right? That's a loop. And the bottom, if you grab on the bottom part, well, this is looped, so it won't show you this, but see this right here? That is how you make a sample smaller. Okay, so that's what you would do for that. Once you have a couple of Foley effects, that's the next big part. Then we're ready to wrap this. We're ready to end.
Favorite album. That's fine.
Okay.
So now at this point, let's say that I'm done talking about my podcast. Thank you for listening.
You want to add something like that. Thank you for listening. You wrap it up, and then you say thank you for listening. I'm saying like and subscribe, but you could just, thank your audience for listening and recap what you said. That's fine. Once you've done that, you can actually you need an outro. Just like you had an intro, you need an outro. Okay. And your outro can just be this music again. So the music you already used, you can actually, we're going to undo the mutes here. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go Control C. I'm going to bring my playhead over here. I'm going to add it in. Actually, I'm going to move it over a little bit, and I'm going to have it over the part where I'm saying goodbye.
So now at this point, let's say that I'm done talking about my podcast. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe.
See what I did here? I brought it down to 0. I have to do the automation, bring the sound back up. Okay. And I want it a little bit sooner. Oopsies. So here we go. So this is my ending.
Podcast. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe. So I'm gonna.
Okay, so you hear at the end how I had that little bit of extra stuff. I can just do this and take that out, or I could do the split region if I wanted to, but that's just easier. So now this is my ending.
Hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe.
And I might let this music go just for another couple of seconds. I'm going to add some volume automations to bring it down to nothing. shorten it up, trim it down here. And there we go.
Say that I'm done talking about my podcast. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe.
So now the volume's going to work its way down to nothing. And that's it. So now I have Foley effects. I have an introduction. I have a thank you at the end. I have a musical introduction. I have a musical closing. And I have the body of my podcast. So those are the main elements. So you're done at this point. Now you would need to go to save. And here's the tricky bit about doing this. When you do save, you have to let your computer sit for a few minutes. Now it looks like it's saving the project here, okay? And it is, but it's going to take it quite a while. If you notice, this save button went to gray, okay? That means that because this is a web-based program, it's sending the information to the company that runs this program. So it's going to take it a few minutes. Do not close your tab. You will lose your work. You need to leave the tab open. If you got to go to another class, you got to do something, you got to, go play whatever video game you're playing, whatever it is, you need to leave this tab open. Okay. You can tab off of it and that's fine, but you have to leave it open for a few minutes. Once it goes back to purple, you want to make sure that you title your podcast. Okay. We're going to have to save it again. But the bulk of the information should be saved. Okay. Now, when I'm done, I will go to File, Export Project to MP3 file. Okay. And see down here, it's saving my podcast. So now I can take that and go to Google Classroom and put that as an attachment in our self-directed podcast. Okay. So if you're here and you're one of the assigned people, you can just go to that, click on it, and attach it there. Okay. All right. So I think that's everything you need to know about this. And please get them in soon. If you need any help, let me know. But make sure you get this project in. Okay. Bye.